Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Abhradeep Sahu and I am going to take you through the fascinating world of chess. So in our last video we talked about the chess pieces and their general movements, and today we are going to explore two special moves that can drastically change the course of a game. These are castling and en passant. Whether you are a beginner or a seasoned player, understanding these moves is truly crucial to elevating your chess game. So let's get started and have some visuals to understand these moves better. First up, let's talk about castling, a unique and strategic move in chess. Castling is the only move in chess where two pieces, the king and one of the rooks, move at the same time. It serves two primary purposes: king's safety and rook activation. As you can see, there are two rooks in the board and the king can choose any of them to castle with. And here you can see one of the rook is nearer to king and the other one is little bit far from the king. If the king castle with the nearby rook, then it would be called king side castling. And if the king choose the rook far by to castle with, it would be called queen side castling, as the rook is nearby the queen rather than the king. Let's illustrate this with an example. So here we can see that the white king and the rooks on the both side have not moved and no pieces have blocked their path. So the king can castle with any of the rooks as per necessity. Let's suppose the king will castle to the king side. So the king will move 2 square toward the rook and the rook will be positioned next to the king like this. Same goes for the queen side castling. King would go 2 squares towards the rook and the rook would be positioned next to the king like this. As you can see, the main motive of castling is to keep the king in guard and also activating the rook and let it be engaged in the game. And before that, there are some certain conditions that must be met in order to perform castling, and these goes such as the king and the chosen rook, either king side or queen side, whichever one is chosen, must not be moved yet. And the king should not be in check, or the square where the king will be positioned after castling should not be in attack by the opponent pieces. Let's say the rook has been moved already. So now the king is not able to perform castling with this rook, but king can still castle with the rook that has not been moved yet. Here, like this one. Same goes for the king. If the king has already moved any step, then it also will not be able to perform castling afterwards. And now say the king is in the check position. Here, as the king is in check, it cannot perform castle with any of the rooks. In order to perform castling from this position, first the player must avoid the check from the opponent piece. Like here, we can position the knight before the king in order to dismiss the check, and then we can perform castling. And in this case, here the king also cannot castle in queen side. As you can see, if the king castle, the king will be positioned in this square, and this square is already attacked by the enemy piece, as you can see. So obviously the king is unable to perform castling to the queen side. So these are the conditions that need to be followed in order to perform a castling. I hope you understand how the castling works. So let's jump to the en passant movement. So now let's see the en passant. So en passant is used when an enemy pawn advances 2 square from its starting position and lands adjacent to one of your pawns. means left or right to your pawn. Then in response, you can capture that enemy pawn as if it had only moved one square forward, like this one. As you can see, although this square is vacant, still you can capture this square and take the enemy pawn. This is the movement we call en passant. It works such as the enemy pawn has moved 2 square forward, it still goes in this position through this square. And since it's the pathway of this pawn, so you get the ability to bring down your enemy pawn in its pathway. That's why you can capture this square even though it is vacant, and you can take the enemy pawn. En has an interesting historical background. It was introduced in the 15th century to prevent pawns from easily bypassing each other, reflecting the evolving dynamics of chess strategy over the century. Now that we have covered the basics of castling and en passant, let's wrap up with some practical tips to keep in mind. First, castling tips. So, castling early is often a good idea to safeguard your king. And second, consider which side to castle, king side or queen side, based on the game's position and your strategic goals. And for in person tips, keep an eye on your opponent's pawn to spot potential in person opportunities. Don't forget that in person captures are optional. You can choose to capture or not. And there you have it, guys. Castling and in person are two intriguing chess moves that can make a big difference in your game. So remember to practice them regularly to become more formidable chess player. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more chess tutorials and tips. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.